And now a word from our sponsor. Join the electronics design and manufacturing industry at PCB West 2026, coming September 29th to October 2nd to the Santa Clara, California Convention Center. Sponsored by the Printed Circuit Engineering Association, PCB West is the place thousands of designers, engineers, fabricators, and assemblers of printed circuit boards go for learning the latest in components, ECAD, and manufacturing processes. From drones to automated vehicles to wearables, there's something for everyone involved in the electronics supply chain. This is one show you cannot afford to miss. Registration for the conference and exhibition is now open. Be sure to book your spot. For more information about PCB West, visit pcbwest.com. Brought to you by PCEA, Engineering Tomorrow's Electronics.
Welcome to PCB Chat. I'm Ryann Howard, Managing Editor with the Printed Circuit Engineering Association. Joining me today are Lauren Waslick, PCB Design Director at Newgrange Design, and Kristen Aguiar, Senior PCB Designer at Newgrange Design. Today's conversation is one I am generally excited to have because we're talking about something that matters far beyond just engineering, the people behind the industry, and what it's like building a path in electronics as women in a field that has been historically male-dominated. So, Lauren and Kristen, I'm really excited to get to talk to you.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Likewise.
Do you guys want to just give a bit of your background?
Sure. Lauren and I both work for the same company. I got into electronics in college through an internship program and am a PCB designer. I've been doing it for about 20 years now.
Yep. And similar, I didn't know about PCB design or really the industry much in college, but I ended up kind of falling into this role after I graduated and have been in PCB design now for almost 15 years and now sort of get to oversee a team of designers as well.
Yeah, similar for myself. I did not know that this was kind of a career until past the university level. So that's interesting. Okay. So what kind of first drew you into this field then?
For me, it was about looking for a job that used just STEM skills in any way. I had an internship more on the business side of things previously, and I was just sort of looking for something that had a little bit more science, a little bit more math, something where I felt like I could utilize the skills I was learning in college. And so I just stumbled across the job description, didn't know anything about circuit boards, but it had training from the ground up, and it clearly, used science, used electronics, used physics. And I just threw my name in the hat, just went for it and applied for the internship program. But it was really just a desire to try to use my STEM skills from college, basically.
I have a similar story with my degree in math. Getting towards the end of my college years, I was trying to figure out what can you do with a math degree. And, I knew about going into finance or teaching or grad school, and none of that was really calling to me, but I wasn't really sure what else I could do. And happened to find a job description, probably similar to the one Kristen found, that was hiring technical majors and was in the electronics industry, which sounded way more interesting to me than anything else I was thinking of. So I just figured I'd go for it and feel like I got very lucky.
And what was that first experience of entering the industry like for you?
For me, it was very overwhelming, to be honest, just because PCB design is one of those things where you don't really learn about it in college, even if you are in a field that is related to it. And so just going into a job as a young adult where you really don't know anything and having to sort of learn from your peers, self-teach yourself in a very technical field, I found that to be a lot, but also very rewarding because I just loved the job so much. But it was the first few years, it was a lot to sort of absorb all of the things that you had to know to be able to do the job even moderately well.
Yeah, it was definitely an adjustment. I didn't really know what to expect going into it, had zero experience on day one. Wasn't sure if I was up to the challenge, but Luckily, I landed at a really great company. Kristen was my trainer at that time, along with our founder of our company, Matt. And just working in a small group like that and getting to be sort of within those one-on-one mentorship opportunities with them made it much more sort of attainable, in that you got that one-on-one coaching, you had someone guiding you, you were able to watch others and learn from them. Once I realized that was what it was going to be like, I was able to settle much faster. And it's years of learning and growing, which for someone like me who is a math major, that's exactly where I want to be. I always want to be learning new technical challenges and figuring things out. So it took a little time, but I definitely kind of settled in and got really comfortable.
So that's interesting that you said Kristen and obviously Matt were mentors for you, Lauren. I'm curious, Kristen, who kind of filled that mentorship role for you?
It was pretty much Matt. It was the two of us in an office. So one of the benefits of that is that I got a lot of one-on-one mentorship, directly from him. I also learned a lot from my customers. We worked with a lot of different, contracts, different people at different companies, different types of industries. And you learn a lot from your experiences working on projects with them. They'll sort of explain, this, that, and the other thing, and then you sort of absorb it from them as well. But yeah, at the beginning, it was pretty much just me and Matt. And I will say it was very important to have someone to sort of help get you into the industry and feel comfortable and train you and have someone to go to for questions. It can be a little lonely out there as a PCB designer. So I think it was a very important part of sticking with it because, again, it's a lot of technical information at the beginning to absorb. And if you don't have anyone to talk to, it can just feel like a lot on your shoulders.
Absolutely. And, that kind of relates to my experience of when I first started attending the shows. I actually, found it kind of impactful to see both of you as some of the instructors for our conferences. I'm like, oh, where are the girls at? And then it's getting introduced to you guys and being like, oh, they actually teach, pretty successful conferences at our shows. And so I am really interested to see, what your take on how important visibility is as a woman in engineering.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I remember going to a similar type of conference early in my career. I must have been in my, early 20s, probably been in the industry 2 or 3 years at that point. And I think I was the only woman in the room, at least for some of the classes. And for others, maybe there were 2 of us. And I felt out of place because I was also probably the youngest one in the room. And so that was a little daunting to go into that experience. I see it also on, just our phone calls with customers. A lot of times, our company might be the only company on the call that has women. So in the beginning, it was a little daunting to not feel that visibility. But I will say over time, and at least in the last few years, there's been a significant change in the distribution. It's still pretty heavily weighted. But every year I'm really excited to see more and more women in the classes and just getting the courage to kind of be a presenter for the first time and getting good feedback and trying to grow that role, I think is really helpful for other people as well. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I always find it surprising. Sometimes you'll sort of say like one little thing here or there, and then, you'll get someone who brings it up years later, how you mentioned something, you're like, oh, I didn't even realize that, stuck so much with you. So I think now we have a lot more women. And I think, something I always say is like, I feel like I owe it back to the industry to sort of put myself out there and, have those communications and sort of, talk about the experience of getting into engineering, because it just makes it seem so much more doable for the next generation, which is really important. And I'd love to see that trend continue.
Well, that is a perfect segue because I was going to ask you what advice you would give to women who are considering careers in PCB design.
Yep, you or me. Okay, so I'll go first.
I don't know. I'm thinking. You go ahead.
One of the biggest things that I did for myself that made me feel more comfortable is to just really work on my technical skills. I find that gender sort of falls away as soon as you sort of deliver really good work. And the second you do that and sort of build that trust, show that you know what you're doing, I just find a lot of those gender issues just kind of you just don't really see it. You just sort of have to prove your skills, and then people will generally respect you. So for me, that was sort of what I focused on at the beginning and relied on quite a bit. I also had this interesting thing where, Matt, my mentor, would always say to me at the beginning, I don't understand why you don't talk in phone calls. Like, you know more than you think you do. You know more than the customer. And I always thought he was so crazy for saying that, what are you talking about? I'm only like 2 years in. There's no way I know more than them, and it's funny because 20 years later, I look back at that and I'm like, he was right. A lot of engineers that I was talking to, they don't really know that much about PCB design. Again, you don't really learn that in school or anything like that. And so even with 2 years experience, there were plenty of conversations where I knew more than the people around me. And I had a hard time sort of understanding that. So, again, it's so important to have a mentor because, they say things like that and it's there in the back of your head and you think about it. And so I always recommend to people, if you've got someone in your company that, you see that could sort of help you give advice, like try to take advantage of it. Don't be afraid, to ask questions as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say the advice I would give is just to understand that it takes time and to give yourself time. If it's something that you're really interested in and passionate about, it's not something you can learn overnight. It's not something you can learn in 2 weeks. And I know, especially, from a young age, sometimes girls are steered away from things if it doesn't feel natural right away, or if doesn't feel like attainable right away, which is tough because sometimes it just takes time. If you're interested in it, you can learn the skills. It's really the interest that matters the most. So to give yourself time to really try to learn, it takes years, and give yourself grace when you're doing that. And like Kristen said, do your best to find sort of an industry mentor. If you don't have one at your company, there's 2 of us here on the call. You can reach out to us. You can go to these conferences, talk to people there. It was really surprising to me how open and helpful and just positive this whole community was as a whole. And when I started going, the way that people kind of engaged me and wanted to help me was really reassuring. So to use the resources you have and reach out. There's a lot of people out there that want to help.
Yeah, I've also found that the community itself is very, very open with like helping hands. And I also never realized how much almost learned docility that I had until I started in this industry. And I don't know when I picked that up because I don't think I'm naturally docile at all. But just getting asked the question, what do you think? So many times in the last year or so has really helped me realize, I am not stepping forward nearly as much as I probably should be. And then kind of learning that initiative has been really fantastic. And then, learning over time how to start asking other people, well, what do you think? As you mentioned, Kristen, like realizing how silent sometimes you are on calls without even meaning to be. And it's, just definitely something that other people in this industry kind of bring out of you. And I've grown to really appreciate that. Okay, guys. Well, I think that's actually all of the questions that I wanted to bring up with you today. Thank you so much for talking to me. Is there any ending comments or anything else that you want to bring up before we kind of conclude?
If you like engineering, go for it. We need more women.
Yeah, no, I think this is great. Thank you for chatting with us, Ryann. Just more of these conversations, being candid, talking about experience. I think we'll just continue to help other people kind of get into this industry too. So,
well, I think it's already working because we had enough girls this last show that we were able to do the Spice Girls. So it's already panning out. Okay, guys, I can't wait to talk to you again.